has been widely welcomed by stakeholders in the education sector. Despite substantial investment by successive governments, the gap in educational infrastructure and teacher motivation remains wide. Finance Minister Dr. Kasiel Atoforsen has indicated plans to resource the Ghana Education Trust Fund, GET Fund, to undertake key educational projects.
GET Fund again will construct 404 unit teacher bungalows, 2 million pieces of metal mono decks and chairs, 200 unit 66-seater buses, 200 double cabin pickups, and 50 saloon cars.
Yet, some teachers remain disappointed by the government's silence on the implementation of the 20% rural teacher allowance, arguing that it would help sustain their interest in accepting and remaining at rural postings. Others are calling on the government to prioritize rural communities in the rollout of the 200 new school projects earmarked for construction. As the challenges confronting rural basic education deepen, stakeholders insist that lasting progress will depend not only on new infrastructure, but also the policies that motivate and retain teachers where they are needed most. The hope is that government-promised interventions, if fully implemented, will narrow the inequity gap and restore dignity to teaching and learning in Ghana's most deprived communities. Stanley Nibleu, TV3 News, Accra.
Let's stay a while longer in education and speak with Festus Longmate. He is the head of programs at the Ghana National Education Campaign Coalition. Festus, good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. The 2026 budget has a lot in terms of education for you stakeholders. Let's start with this. Will the interventions that the finance minister announced in the 2026 budget, will it be enough to address a number of the concerns you have in the education sector going into the next year?
Yeah, so thank you for having me. Let me say good evening to you and your team members, and also good evening to your cherished listeners. Yes, as a coalition interested in promoting quality education for every child in this country, no matter the child's background, we commend the initiative to construct a number of school buildings at the KG level, at the primary level, and also at the JHS level, to some extent address the long-standing neglect of basic education infrastructure and resources. We are all aware of the challenges that basic education is facing in this country. In fact, when you go to some rural areas, you go to hard-to-reach communities, you realize that a lot of our children are learning under trees. A lot of our children are learning in dilapidated structures, exposing them to a lot of danger. As we speak, we still have over 5,400 schools that are studying under trees. We still have, under trees and also in dilapidated structures. Like I said, exposing them to a lot of danger. We have over 4,000 basic schools that are without junior high school departments.
Right, Festus, so I agree that the challenges are enormous. They are endless, if you like. But looking at the interventions that government is proposing, the allocation of 33 billion cedis that will be giving to the education sector, if all goes well, of course, some 9.9 billion allocated to GET Fund, provisioning an amount of 4.2 billion for implementation of the free secondary education policy, amongst others. Will these and the other interventions, will they be enough to go a long way to address the problems in the sector briefly?
Yeah, so like I said, as a coalition, that is a good step forward. It's a significant step towards addressing the challenges, but we think that it is very important we look at the different areas of expenditures by government. And when I talk about the different areas, we are talking about compensation of employees. We are talking about capital expenditure, which has to do with infrastructure, which government is trying to solve. We are talking about goods and services. It is very important we look at the demands in these three areas as against the allocations. Then we are able to see the extent at which government is solving these problems. But to continue with what I'm saying, I will say that the initiative alone to address some of these challenges is a significant way forward. It is very important also that government do not only do the allocation, but then we have to ensure that the allocated amount for each subsector is actually released in full and on time, because we all know that any shortfall can severely impact on the execution of planned projects and initiatives.
True. Let's look at other areas still in education. There's a promise to do away with the double-track system in the next 2 years. I want to ask you if that is feasible enough, looking at the large numbers that qualify from junior high school to the senior high school.
Yes, I think it is feasible when government is able to complete the 30 community day school, the 30 community secondary schools as committed, or as a government has mentioned in the recent budget that was read by the Minister of Finance. Remember, prior to the introduction of the free SHS program, NEC as a coalition organized a press conference to try to advise government to complete the previous project, or the project on the E-blocks that was being constructed by the previous government, so that we are able to accommodate the increasing numbers of students that will be applying to go to the senior high school at the time. But unfortunately, that was not taken. And we all know the challenges that we faced as a country when it came to the admission of students in 2017-2018 academic year.
Right.
So that also means that if by the grace of God, government is able to implement the policy or implement what government has pledged to do in terms of the construction of the 30 secondary schools, we believe that it will go a long way to solve the problem of the double track system that we are currently faced with.
Festus, thank you. Thank you so much. I understand that. So the allocations will be made, but the most important is the disbursement. Festus Longmate is the head of programs at the Ghana National Education Campaign Coalition, speaking with us there. Let's do some other stories tonight.
We're still staying with education, but now turning our focus to early years. Now, finding a school for a toddler has become one of the most stressful parts of raising a young child. It is no longer the simple search it used to be. Now, it means comparing fees, weighing curriculums, and trying to figure out whether the colorful classrooms really translate into quality learning. There's more in this report. For many first-time parents, every day is another reminder of the high-stakes race to find the right school for their little ones. The search for a good school has become more than a routine checklist. This phase now comes with a mix of anxiety, sacrifice, and tough choices.
Easy thing searching for a school because we don't have databases where you can go searching per location. Okay, which schools are within this place where I live or this place where I work? What are the values of the school? What are the values of the teachers, the proprietor? And how are they grooming these children aside from the basic education that they're teaching them?
When I was trying to find a school for my son, I went to like a couple of schools around in Tema, and some were really rude, some were nice. And obviously like the environment, like you're looking at, hey, so like where's my child? Because he was one at the time, like where are they going to sleep and everything. And
from international schools that promise world-class curricula to local institutions blending tradition and modern learning, parents are paying more. Fees range from 5,000 to 30,000 cedis a term. But are parents really getting value for money?
No. It seems to me like the fees being charged is based on prestige and past glory. So you have a situation where years before a school may have been doing really well, so they have a name. When you mention, oh, I went to this school, then everybody's like, hey, then what being, oh, you're smart. But the reality on the ground is the quality is not what it used to be.
The pricing there, I don't know if it goes with the dollar, I don't know, but it's constantly increasing. And sometimes you look at it like for for what they are giving, why don't I just keep him at home and then just homeschool him till he's 6? Then again, I don't really think the rate at which it goes up is commensurate with what actually changes and what they are actually really rendering.
I feel like the school should be like a bit more considerate of parents as well, like because their school fees is not the only thing that we have to sort out as well.
These concerns are common. Parents say the pressure to pick the right school is increasingly becoming intense, especially with schools advertising foreign curricula that do not always reflect the actual teaching happening inside the classroom. Some schools admit they struggle to match expectations, especially when parents judge quality by infrastructure rather than what happens between teacher and child.
A parent comes in and their concern is the number of children in a class and the number of attendants. So all these things add up to the pricing. You need to pay subscription for the international curriculum you are running, and then you need to pay locally. As an international school, you are required to pay more than a local school. So I think most people charge based on this accreditation or subscriptions they need to pay. Me, at times, I'm bothered a bit. I run a school and I hear some school fees and it's just ridiculous.
Experts say the heart of early education lies in skilled teachers and learning through play, and not just branding and infrastructure without strong foundations.
One of the things that we need to understand with early childhood education is that the approach to teaching, the approach to instruction is different from when you are teaching adults, okay? So there's a lot of talk about Montessori system of education. That is the play-based, that is more child-centered. So you need to train the teachers in the Montessori pedagogy and other critical pedagogies that enables the teacher to deliver very well, especially looking at the age of these kids.
Quality education in early childhood especially shouldn't be measured just by the facilities, but by the standards that these schools are setting and how they are developing your child. We are there as regulators. We are there to ensure that the space is safe, okay for everyone, i.e. the learner and the parents. Schools, that especially those that are licensed with us, we ensure that parents are getting value for their money.
The National Schools Inspectorate Authority admits that much more awareness is needed to assist parents in making informed school choices for toddlers.
There is also that element of limited parents' awareness when it comes to early childhood education. I think we will need to debunk the earlier notion where we didn't pay so much attention to the early development of our wards. We are also there to listen to some of these concerns by parents, and we act on these complaints to ensure that at least there is harmony between the parents, learners, and the school community.
In some of the schools, you see a lot of parent control in terms of what goes on with their kids and so on and so forth. Others too are trying to represent anything. And in that case, I think that the parents have the choice to either withdraw their awards or keep them there.
More children are beginning school earlier than before, and the journey to find quality early education remains one of the toughest paths for parents. While schools and regulators insist they are doing their parts, parents say they simply want honesty, consistency, and classrooms where their children can learn and thrive. Ayisha Yakubu, TV3 News, Accra.
Now, from education to health, this time about stigma. Pervasive stigma and discrimination. It continues to marginalize persons living with HIV, despite progress in Ghana's HIV response, forcing many to suffer in silence. Now, this is the untold story of individuals like Rhoda, who, despite being HIV positive, bravely navigates a society that often shuns and ostracizes those living with the virus. Health correspondent Sarah Apenkro has more in this report.
Rhoda's life changed forever when she received the devastating diagnosis. The stigma, fear, and uncertainty about what lay ahead were overwhelming.
When I went to that facility, the nurse who saw my report went to my school to tell a colleague teacher to be careful about me and that I am HIV positive. So when I come back to the school, they shouldn't get closer to me. They shouldn't allow the students to get close to me. But this lady, I always appreciate her a lot. She's called Madam Grace. The lady kept this to herself. And because of even what the guy told her, she decided to be more close to me. It was just recent, last year, that she disclosed this to me.
The fear of being ostracized by her loved ones kept her silent. But she found love, and together with her husband, they welcomed children who are not carriers of the virus.
I remember when I got married and I got pregnant with my first child, I went to a certain facility to seek for my ANC, and the very first day I got to the facility, 2 nurses were there having a discussion. And the discussion was around a person who just came there and tested positive to HIV. And they were discussing the person such that I was able to identify whom they were talking about, because one was directing the friend to where the person stays and another thing. And since we are in the same community, I was able to trace to see the person they were talking about. So I was like, wow, I'm also positive. So what will be my stand after they get to know of my status as well? Meaning they are going to discuss me and who will be the next person to hear about my story. So I left the facility. I decided not to come to the antenatal at all. But on the day of my delivery, I gave them my prophylaxis to be given to my child because I was due for delivery, and then I knew they have to give the prophylaxis to the child. Immediately, the baby comes out. The moment I gave this to the woman, her attitude towards me changed. She now became cold. She wasn't responding to me. So when I started having the contractions and was crying for help, she wasn't coming to me. But lo and behold, there were some student nurses at the facility, and one of them was coming to me. The woman, when the baby's head was coming out, I felt it, I held it, and so that the head was coming out. I shouted to them that the baby is coming. She said I should shut up and be there. Which baby is coming? HIV nipa so. Obatete ye wa hase. You be di wachi sa be de dey say be hwe no anhwe po no bi anya bi. Mo kɔ ne ho am hwe yi. And I was scared. I was crying.
Rhoda's story is not unique. Thousands of Ghanaians live with HIV silently, battling stigma and fear. Despite the progress made in Ghana's fight against HIV, stigma remains a significant barrier. Many still view HIV as a moral issue rather than a health condition.
We recognize that one of the biggest barriers to the stigma is even among the health workers who are supposed to provide care to HIV clients. They themselves stigmatize the clients. And so as charity begins at home, we have come up with some training package for healthcare workers. And we have also engaged with other partners like the Nurses and Midwifery Council. And they are now trying to include a course on stigma in their curriculum.
The Ghana AIDS Commission estimates that about 334,000 people are living with HIV in the country. However, only about 151,000 are on treatment, highlighting the need for more support and acceptance. Rhoda has become an advocate for HIV awareness, sharing her story to break the stigma.
I really felt that day that we really need to talk. We really need our voices to be heard, because we can easily die just because of how people perceive persons living with HIV.
As Ghana strives to end AIDS by 2030, it is crucial to address the stigma and discrimination that hinder progress. And yet, the Ghana AIDS Commission appears handicapped with lack of resources to intensify and sustain awareness creation.
We need the resources. We want to end AIDS by 2030. Without a dedicated fund to support all the innovations, all the other interventions, there's no way we'll be able to achieve that result.
It is important to create a society where persons living with HIV feel valued, supported, and empowered to live their lives without fear. Sarah Penkro, TV3 News, Accra.
The push for stronger health information systems in hospitals across Ghana. Patients sign up for care and health workers move from one ward to the next. But behind the scenes, a digital system tracks every visit, every treatment, and every outcome. The health information system. In this report, Christabel Trevor takes a closer look at how Ghana is digitizing healthcare, the challenges it faces, and what this means for patients and communities.
In hospitals across Ghana, health workers are the first line of care. But behind the scenes, every patient's journey is tracked by a system most don't see: the health information system. Its efficiency can mean the difference between timely care and dangerous delays. A well-functioning health information system allows hospitals to track diseases, manage resources, and make informed decisions, putting patients at the heart of smarter healthcare.
Everything health data rests with us. Yes, the health system is such that we manage it in a chain process. So everybody contributes to the data development. But at the end of the day, we do the collation, the data analysis, and then we interpret them in a way with our service providers to inform policy making.
For decades, health service data in Ghana was scattered across paper files, separate systems, and handwritten notes. Tracking patients who move between clinics or knowing how many people are treated for a condition in a region was often slow or impossible. The result? Lost time and missed opportunities to act. To address this, the Ministry of Health developed the Health Information System Strategic Plan 2022 to 2025. Its goal to institutionalize an integrated health information system that ensures quality, timely, and comprehensive health data for decision-making at all levels. Despite progress, challenges remain.
Most of our data is more of standalone because most facilities have their different data sources. The government tried using the LIMS to get us a database so that at least wherever you are, you can access the data. So we don't have one uniform data set. So the LIMS will have been the best way to get it to roll across where we can have one major data source for the entire country. So it makes it difficult to continue service when you move from one place that are using LIMS to a place that is using a different software. We have challenge with the data system because most of the health information department team are not being trained, and also we have challenge with people being recruited into the system to beef up the challenge we have with human resource. So we will advise that if possible, the health information managers should be employed to take up the challenges.
This digital shift promises faster registration, fewer missing records, and more responsive care. For health managers, it means better capacity to spot outbreaks, allocate resources, and plan services.
Before you enter the facility, you meet the health information department that do the recording of the patient, take the vitals, and ensure we activate your card for continuation of service. So our major task is to ensure we capture the patient information accurately. Then at the end of the day, after the data has been captured, we clean the data, we analyze it to ensure that the data that is going out is accurate for decision making for the nation.
Women are at the heart of this system.
As a lady, we are promoting the health of the country. It's about data. So if you want us to have a good health system in Ghana to enable everybody within the country, access this universal, coverage, then it's about the data. So every young lady who have access or being trained into the data aspect should actually look at the role being given, stand by it with confidence, and work fully.
Digitizing healthcare in Ghana isn't optional. Strengthening health information systems could mean faster care, smarter decisions, and healthy communities. Christabel Success Trevor, TV3 News, Accra.
Now, for many Ghanaian children, burn injuries are a common occurrence, often due to unsafe living conditions, lack of awareness, and inadequate supervision maybe. Now, these injuries not only cause physical has been finding out the harsh reality that many young lives have to endure and the treatment gaps.
In Ghana, childhood burn injuries are a harsh reality that many young lives have to endure. Children under 5 years account for majority of all burns, with majority of the cases being hot water burns. For 4-year-old Enoch, a cooking accident turned his life upside down. He accidentally fell off a chair after losing balance and landed into his mother's hot pot of palm nut soup on fire, severely burning parts of his body. The pain he has gone through on his journey to recovery for the past 1 year, according to his mother, cannot be described. 2 weeks ago, he had a surgery on his right arm.
December, now I'm so need to work kitchen captain. And I'll got Nakunya.
It happened on the 7th of December, and it hasn't been easy since. We are hopeful he will get better.
Since the incident, her livelihood as a petty trader has been affected, while the cost of treatment overwhelmed the family.
It is not easy. I'm in constant debt. The insurance doesn't do much. It's been difficult.
Safwa Ampon is a deputy chief nursing officer at the burns unit of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital and spoke about burns involving children.
I always say negligence on the part of the parents, because no mother brings a child to the department and say, I was there when it happened. They are always saying that I went somewhere and when I came, my child has went. No mother is, which means our caretakers are not taking good care of our children. And National Health Insurance doesn't take a chunk of the amount. So most of the time, the burden is still on the parents. Like I said, National Health in the burns unit takes care of only accommodation and sanitation. What about the drugs? What about food? And if burns patients are supposed to eat 7 to 9 times a day per our dietitian's plan, how much will it cost a day to even feed a burns patient?
Adults also suffer from burns. Dorothy Kwati, a caterer, suffered from burn injuries while lighting a fire to cook at work using an expired hand sanitizer.
Sanitizer ni efite na ya chile shui. She wawegeze ko make e ko shele le chu.
It is something we often use, even last semester. It was stubbornness. One of our colleagues recommended it. How I am even scared of gas.
The ordeal she has gone through since December last year has been a sufficient deterrent for her and her fellow caterers to stop the dangerous practice.
We normally used rubber to light the fire, but it wasn't fast. Now we've learnt our lesson.
Many may use sanitizer me honey in kerosene, even kerosene ponche legbe. Kerosene ponke to me aka use keshelela.
There are only 3 major burn centers in Ghana: the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, the Komfanochi Teaching Hospital, and the Tamale Teaching Hospital.
Kolebu at the end of every year has about 1,000 children that have stayed in the hospital, not people who come and go. And this plunges the family into further poverty, after they have seen, to the physical care of the child, you go back home to nothing. If we can do a lot more education, because it's totally preventable, but the education is not reaching far and wide.
The World Health Organization estimates that burn injuries account for 180,000 deaths annually and are the 5th most common cause of non-fatal childhood injuries. Sarah Apenkro, TV3 News, Accra.
You're watching News 360. We're going for a break. We're back with more stories. Stay with us. Welcome back to the broadcast. Let's do some other stories tonight. And Ghana is set to host the World Congress of the Assemblies of God in Accra from October 12 to 14 in 2026. And this will be the first time the global event will be held in Africa.
The decision to select Ghana as host to the World Congress of the Assemblies of God is due to the country's reputation as a peaceful, hospitable and stable nation. The event is expected to attract 5,000 delegates from across the world to Ghana. The General Superintendent of the Assemblies of God, Ghana Reverend Stephen Wengam, said the church will, aside planting more branches, also empower people in the process.
We are also focusing on church health, building healthy churches. We are also asking the church to go back to our roots, the supernatural, the day of Pentecost, the outpour of the Spirit. Businessmen and women, investors are coming, and they are coming to also explore business opportunities. And we're asking local businesses, agencies, corporate Ghana to partner with us so they can benefit from the inflow of investments that will hit Ghana in 2026.
The global chairman of the World Assemblies of God Fellowship, Reverend Dominic Yeo, spoke about the importance of the event.
It's so important because it provides a special platform to advance the MM33 agenda. It is a covenant-driven, spirit-empowered vision to establish 1 million Assemblies of God churches by 2033. We will ignite revival, strengthen pastors and congregation, raise missionaries, empower the next generation, and mobilize the entire global fellowship for unprecedented kingdom impact.
There are currently about 8,000 missionaries working in over 190 countries for the Assemblies of God Church. The World Fellowship has so far invested some $328 million in missions and developing communities worldwide.
Evening, Sudanese nationals living in Ghana on Sunday took to the streets of Accra to protest atrocities being committed in their country's ongoing civil war. Sudan Ambassador to Ghana, Gabriela Hidir Ali, who took part in the protest, took a swipe at both the African Union and the United Nations for failing to swiftly broker peace between the rebels and pro-government forces. My colleague Stanley Niblo filed this report.
The conflict in Sudan has led to the deaths of more than 150,000 people and displaced over 40 million residents, with majority fleeing into neighboring countries. Currently, the paramilitary group, the Rapid Support Forces, have seized control of El Fasher, where waves of attacks have left scores of women and children dead. Rebel forces have also blocked humanitarian aid to the worst-hit areas, triggering severe starvation. On Sunday, November 16, 2025, Sudanese nationals in Ghana, joined by concerned Ghanaians, marched through the streets of Accra to protest against atrocities being committed back home.
Time to free Sudan! It's time to free Sudan!
Led by their ambassador, the demonstrators expressed disappointment at what they described as the slow and ineffective response of the international community to the deepening crisis.
Organizations are not doing enough effort to help Sudan bringing lasting peace in Sudan, specifically the AU, because in Sudan we always believe in the slogan that we say African solutions to African problems. But the AU team now, they are trying, to sit with the government, and they are trying to find a solution, but it's not enough effort. We are looking for more solidarity, quick movement to help the people of Sudan achieving the last peace in Sudan.
He wants the peace process expedited.
All the Sudanese are looking for democracy, and this will happen, inshallah, after we finish this war and the people of Sudan return back to their homes.
Organizers of the protest appealed for increased humanitarian assistance for the displaced.
And I think they are trying to show pressure to the government in order to be called for peace and sharing power at the end of the day. But we Sudanese, I believe we send our message from here on behalf of all of them. I think we are all one now, standing with the government of Sudan against any kind of genocide or division.
As the conflict escalates and global attention remains sluggish, protesters in Ghana insist that only urgent, coordinated international action can prevent the crisis from spiraling into an even greater humanitarian catastrophe. Stanley Niblew, TV3 News, Accra.
This is News 360. Let's now bring you sports news with Aniela Lote.
When you're going to wipe the face, don't look left, don't look right.
Off with match day 10 of the Ghana Premier League, Asante Kotoko fought back at the Baba Yara Sports Stadium to secure a 1-1 draw against Aduana Stars. Aduana took the lead in the 6th minute thanks to Emmanuel Marfo, but Lord Amwa struck a sensational effort in favor of the Porcupine Warriors. The draw extends Kotoko's unbeaten run, and they now sit 5th on the table with 2 outstanding matches to play. The result also leaves Aduana in 3rd place. Here are the highlights of the game.
4 minutes. It's the visitors who have shot into the lead. Goalkeeper Aziza
right in there to stop that attack.
Lord Amwa's drive, and it's a beauty. Magnificent strike and a brilliant goal scored by Lord.
Following the 1-1 draw at the Baba Yara Sports Stadium, coach of the Porcupine Warriors, Abdul Karim Zito, explained that he was not satisfied with the result and was forced to make a few tactical decisions on account of injuries. On the other hand, coach of Aduana Stars, Aristika Chioba, believes Asante Kotoko have better individual players, but Aduana are the better playing team together as a unit.
I'm not satisfied, but I can't blame anybody because when you look at our game, our 3 games previously, you will see a lot of change in this game. Why? Because of injuries. You understand me? So it was like we were even when you look at us in the field, we couldn't put 1-2 together. So I have to do an early tactical change to bring in Baba so that we stabilize. So if I tell her I'm okay, I'm not okay because on our way of winning or trying to win the league, we should win all the matches.
I tell you before the game, the Kotoko have the individual player better us, but us have the better team inside in the pitch from discipline, tactic, and working together. I have another 3 or 4 chances from the score. If it's coming the score, maybe I will win the game. But also Kotoko have 3 or 4 chances from the score.
Heading over now to some news on the national team. Ghana international Francis Abu has successfully undergone surgery after sustaining a double leg fracture during Black Stars' international friendly against Japan on Friday. In an official statement, the Ghana Football Association confirmed the positive outcome of the procedure and outlined the support structures already in place for the player's recovery. Meanwhile, Antoine Semenyo and Mohamed Salisu will play no part of Ghana's game against South Korea on Tuesday after leaving the Black Stars camp due to injuries. The duo has returned to their respective clubs, according to a statement released by the Ghana Football Association earlier today. That will be all for sports here on News 360. I am Aniela Alute. Up next is international news.
Let's now bring you some international news.
Britain plans to carry out the most significant reform of its asylum policy in modern times. The Labour government plans to make refugee status temporary and quadruple the wait of permanent settlement to 20 years. The move comes as the Labour government confronts a broken asylum system that has fueled support for right-wing parties. After a summer of protests outside hotel housing asylum seekers, a mass anti-immigration demonstration in London, and constant criticism from the surging hand-right Reform UK party, tensions around migration reached a peak. In response, the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmoud, outlined plans to curb illegal small boat crossing from France. She also announced measures to return refugees to their home countries when it is safe to do so. At least 4 people have been killed after 2 boats carrying migrants and asylum seekers capsized off Libya's coast. The first boat was carrying 26 people from Bangladesh, 4 of whom died. The Red Crescent said the second boat carried 69 people, including 2 Egyptians and dozens of Sudanese. Libya has become a major transit route for migrants and asylum seekers fleeing conflict and poverty to Europe since the 2011 fall of former ruler Muammar Gaddafi in a NATO-backed uprising. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security, DHS, has said federal agents have descended on the city of Charlotte in North Carolina as part of U.S. President Donald Trump's expanding crackdown on illegal migration. It announced Operation Charlotte's Web on Saturday, saying criminal illegal aliens will be targeted in the Democratic-run city. Local officials, including Mayor of Charlotte Lee Valls, released a joint statement criticizing the operation, saying it was causing unnecessary fear and uncertainty in the community. Since Trump's return to office, he has deployed troops to Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, and Chicago to deliver on his promise of the largest deportation program in U.S. history.
That's it for News 360 tonight, but there's more news always on our website, 3news.com. Please do well to log on to 3news.com. I'm Noble Crosby Annan.
And I'm Ayisha Yakubu. Thank you so much for joining us and have an amazing new week.